Listen up. We have some advice on becoming a better listener. Joining us is communications consultant Lynda Katz Wilner. Lynda, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Why is it important to become a better listener?
How can we learn anything about anybody if we don't listen to them?
Some people seem to think that all that's important is the communication going one direction.
Exactly, and that's what I was just going to say. We all like to talk, and we all like to talk about ourselves. But if we even go to a networking event, it's not about us, it's about the other person. So it's important to be interested in the other person as opposed to trying to be interesting. So be a listener so you can learn. You won't learn anything if you're talking all the time.
You were probably amused then that the first thing I did here was interrupt you.
Well, but I did that to you as well.
So is that frowned on? I mean, in a conversation you're listening, you may have a reason to interject something. It's proof that you're listening. But at the same time, you're cutting the person off.
And I think it depends. I think when you're brainstorming with people and you know the person, you interrupt each other all the time, and there's energy in that. But if somebody's truly talking to you and explaining something, you need to listen, not just without interrupting, but by fully paying attention to them and not looking around the room and looking at your watch, because that's going to show them that they're not that important.
Why are we not good at this? Is it people are rude, they have too much going on, they're not that interested?
I think a lot of people may not be that interested. They're more, especially in a business sense, they may be more interested in selling their wares, letting people know who they are. And so when they go to a networking event, they think the important thing is, I need to give you my card and tell you who I am so you'll give me business. And that's frowned upon now. You don't want to do that.
Your point is it's a two-way street.
It's absolutely a two-way street, and the better person makes it more of a one-way street by asking a lot of questions, because then you learn enough about that person so that you can do business with them. But if you keep talking about yourself, what did you learn?
I've heard that said about job interviews, that the more the interviewer talks, there was some study that found they had a higher perception of the interviewee when the interviewer did all the talking. Maybe in part it's because the interviewee was doing a good job listening.
Maybe, and sometimes if we ask a lot of questions, if I met you someplace and I asked you a lot of questions, you might leave the situation and say, boy, we had a great conversation. And you really didn't ask me that much, but I found ways to get you to talk and make you feel more comfortable. And I'm sure you do that when you interview people.
What are some tricks for being a good listener when maybe you're not naturally, you have a really short attention span, there's other stuff going on, but you know you need to hear what Lynda's saying. How can I hear you better?
Okay, you need to eliminate distractions. And sometimes that's difficult. So it could be the noise outside the room. It could be thinking about what you need to do in the next hour, or what's going on that day, or a phone call you just had, or a report that's due. All of that is noise in your brain, and you can't listen if that's going on. So you need to try the best you can to shut that down and pay attention. Eye contact will also help, because it helps you focus in on that person without staring at them, but the eye contact connects people, and then you know you have a better dyad, a better communication partner.
And
when you do that.
For that and other things, you take your cues in some measure from the person you're talking to.
Absolutely. If I'm talking to you and you start looking at your watch or looking out the door, I know that conversation has ended. Why should I continue? Because I don't have your attention anymore. And so what you really need to do, and I have this Olay approach to communication.
Olay.
Olay. If you think about
Not oil of Olay.
Not oil of Olay,
right,
but Olay like bravo, and what you hear at sporting events, because what that actually means is rising to your highest level of excellence. And so what I include in the Olay approach is that you need to observe, you need to listen, and then you can engage. And without the observing and listening, as we were just talking about, I can't connect with you. If I'm listening but looking the other way and not watching and picking up your signals, we didn't have a successful communication.
And in a one-on-one communication, as you said, you can tell when the other person is starting to lose interest a little bit. How do you bring them back?
You can change the topic. You can use their name. If all of a sudden I say Jeff, you might
Now that was a
more.
Dale Carnegie thing, right? People love to hear the sound of their name.
The more you use the name in a conversation, not only is it easier for you to remember it, but it also connects with that person because you are using their name.
Okay, let me flip the tables again. For somebody making a presentation, you boil it down into 3 V's.
Yes.
What are the 3 V's?
Yes, and I love this because it makes so much sense to people. The 3 V's are the visual, how you look. And I don't just mean what you're wearing, but how do you carry yourself? How is your posture, your eye contact, your facial expression, your gestures? So the visual is one part. Then there's the vocal, how do you sound? Do you have a good tone of voice? Do you speak too quickly? Do you have a breathy voice? Is your voice too low? Any of those distractions? Do you have a heavy accent or dialect that's going to interfere? That's all vocal. And the third part is the verbal, what you say. And those 3 V's have to be balanced for you to have that professional presence, or you're not credible enough. We start to wonder if you look good and you sound good, but you don't make sense, something's not connecting there.
Very good. Communications consultant Lynda Katz Wilner. Lynda, thanks for the time.
My pleasure. Thank you.